Any health-related information on the following show provides general information only. Content presented on any show by any host or guest should not be substituted for a doctor's advice. Always consult your physician before beginning any new diet, exercise, or treatment program.
Welcome to Accelerated Health Radio on W4HC Radio, where you can learn to accelerate your body, mind, and spirit to reclaim the true potential that exists within you through cutting-edge wellness, tools, and modalities. Here's your host, Sarah Banta.
Welcome to Accelerated Health Radio. I'm your host, Sarah Banta. I'm a health coach, natural supplement expert, and a busy mom of 3 teenagers. I do believe that your body does want to and is capable of rebuilding and healing itself, regardless of what chronic diseases you may have. I'm here for you to answer your questions, bring you innovative and cutting-edge technology and health solutions to empower you and your ability to reach your optimal state of health. Today, my guests will be talking about addiction as it relates to physical, mental, spiritual health, and also intentions. And I know more than anyone that you really need a strong physical foundation to work on your mental growth, whether it's overcoming an addiction or anxiety and depression, which we are all suffering from right now, or just optimizing your growth mindset. You need a strong physical foundation of health. It isn't just about willpower. And if you're new to following me, I specialize in helping you get there. And if you can find my health articles and protocols at acceleratedhealthproducts.com. I dive into an array of health conditions, their causes, symptoms, and how to address them naturally. I've been spending thousands of dollars and thousands of hours of my time biohacking different supplements and diets so that you don't have to. And if you have any issues, you can reach out to me directly through email, through the website. I personally read every single one. So now to the good stuff. Destiny Owen, she went straight from nursing school out of high school, then became a board certified pharmacy technician for Kaiser. She decided she wasn't happy and left to go back to school. She's now a certified master trainer, a nutritional specialist, exercise therapy specialist, and an expert yoga instructor. She's the owner of Shape Your Destiny and Cure in 4. And Joe Reynolds grew up in London. He holds 4 black belts and fought for England professionally for 5 years. After the loss of his mother and close friend, he also decided to further his health education. Today, Joe is a functional medicine specialist, biological researcher, and health mentor. Together, they combine their expertise in biology, anatomy, and physiology to successfully coach and empower their clients to take their health back. If you missed our first episode together, it's episode 31 on Accelerated Health Radio. Definitely go look at that one. It was a great one, and we just started breaking into what we can really dive into with these two. So welcome, you guys. How are you this morning? Oh, can't hear you guys.
Mute.
There we go. Can hear you now.
Can you hear us now?
Yeah. How are you?
All right, great. Well, good morning. Thank you. Doing very, very, very well. And just so happy to be here again. We love being able to dive into subjects with your perspective and your knowledge, and you're our superstars.
Oh, well, likewise. And I know this topic is so prevalent right now, and that's why I feel like it's so important to get this information out there. And you guys you've personally gone through it, Destiny, and I want to go through that. But I know for me, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing if I hadn't had my own health crisis, and that's where my passion comes from. And after hearing your story, which gives me the chills, I now can see why you are so passionate in helping others and with such an open heart. And people can see that through both of you. So it's such a pleasure. And there's no better way to teach others than from personal experience, and then taking that and researching it and finding the protocols that work and that don't work. And I'm sure you've gone through steps that don't work. And same with me. And I'm just so grateful that, someone said the other day to me, our mess becomes our message. And I tell my kids that, every challenge in life, it's an opportunity to grow. So That is why for anyone out there that is struggling with an addiction, whether it's to sugar or if it's gambling or pornography or a drug addiction, they all come from the same source. They have a lot of the same side effects and the symptoms and the same process in healing. So we're going to go through all of that. But first, Destiny, why don't we start with your journey?
Okay. All righty. Well, so I grew up in a family where nobody had graduated high school yet. When I was 12 years old, my mom found a pack of cigarettes in one of my dresser drawers, and she went and bought me a carton of cigarettes. Yeah, so I didn't have any knowledge of anything outside of that world, So obviously, I did the same thing. I emulated what I saw, and it got me in a really, really, really bad place. As a matter of fact, when I was in 2008, which is 12 years ago, it actually landed me in state prison. And I could not believe that that was where I ended up, especially with the education I had. And, I just didn't think that I was like everybody there, but obviously it was enough to really bring myself, inward and do a lot of work. And so 12 years later, I'm so beyond blessed with the life that I live today. Sometimes I think I'm dreaming, but my story, it's interesting because I was malnourished as a child because my mother, was an addict. And so this also manifested later in my life, and I got an epileptic disorder. And so it came on later in my life after I had thought, I finished my struggles. But putting those two together, I put in the work. And then when I met Joe, he really put the biology of it all together for me. And I just feel so differently. And I know there's a lot of different outlooks, but to me, to be able to look at my life 12 years ago, I lost my child. I mean, I was in desperation. I had come to the point I was ready to die. I was okay with it. And to go from that point to now, having contracts with police departments where I teach them, how to get over the wall and how to, and it's a joke now, like, you fed me bologna sandwiches for a year of my life, do those burpees. And to be able to be trusted, like my clients. So now over the last 12 years, of course, I continued school. And as you said, so I've been coaching now for 12 years on my own, with my own business. And so these people in my life have just become so important to me. And I noticed, whatever they were dealing, always, if we weren't successful, it came down to like a biological factor, and that was really where it all made sense. So that bringing that back to my addiction, I feel like my road to recovery could have been a lot better if I knew what I knew now. There's a lot of information out there that doesn't have to make an addict so uncomfortable to get better. Once you get better and you feel how you're supposed to, you don't even ever think about it anymore because you just feel so good. But I really believe in my heart that whether it's an emotional thing, a chemical thing, but they go hand in hand. And it wasn't until I fixed my health that everything else started to come together.
And that's something that I really have a problem with some of the programs out there where they think it's a willpower thing. and a mental thing. They don't give you any physical foundation or biological science behind what's going on in your body. And it makes people.
I do teach yoga for a few addiction recovery homes. And the great news is that they're getting interested. People are starting to wonder, they're starting to think. And I feel like it's so good to see a little bit of change.
Yeah, I agree. Well, we have a lot of information to cover, which I'm super excited about. Let's first start with what do you see as the side effects of addiction? What is happening to the body that people don't realize?
Here's the funny thing is I tell people this. I say, I'm still an addict, but my symptoms just manifest different places. And I think the key is to choose where they manifest. The symptoms of and when you say that, do you mean like biologically, like how you feel, or
all of it? So as far as nutritional deficiencies, as you're an addict, whether it's a sugar addict, a drug, or it's alcohol. So what is happening?
I know for myself, for myself personally, I'm about 125 pounds now. When I was at my worst, I got down to 104 pounds. I was losing my hair. I was sick all the time, like just this achy flu-like feeling. And then you also have to remember, I didn't think I was a drug addict because I was taking pills because I hurt my back. But it got so terrible. I remember laying on the bathroom floor. It's just that nothing else in this world matters except that drug at that moment, and to feel that out of control of yourself, it's the worst feeling. It's the worst feeling in the world, and you're just so empty inside. And that's why I want to help people that are chronic relapsers. Because that's the majority of addictions, or people, chronic relapsers. So they're not fixing the root problem. And I think that in many, many cases, nutrition can be that problem.
I agree. Well, why don't we go through the 12-step addiction protocol that you guys have come up with? Because I honestly have not seen anything so comprehensive and thorough, and you hit on every single point. It's fantastic. And so I really want to make sure we have time to go through each step thoroughly.
Yeah, well, that's where I kind of come in. But, from my addiction story, my mum was an alcoholic my whole life. And she literally became an alcoholic because her mum and dad were so great parents. They were so close, so loving. But then at 26 years old, my mum finds out her mum's got breast cancer, goes through chemo. She becomes a caregiver for the last couple of years of her life. She loses her. A few years later, my granddad, her dad, has a stroke. She becomes his caregiver for several years, and it just destroyed her. She lost her happiness, her family, and she just turned to alcohol. And then it led on to a multitude of diseases and disorders, and she died very young, So that's kind of my story and why I'm like I am and obsessed with disease and disorders. And
I think that's an important thing too. Being an addict, and the way that I grew up, the last thing I ever thought that I would be, especially being so skinny my whole life, was a trainer. I mean, that was just not in my cards. After leaving Kaiser hospital, my dad's thinking, all those student loans. I just paid my student loans off last month. Okay, my last $50 payment, and it's been 20 years though. But anyways, what was important to me was, when I started to get healthy, I had damaged a lot of relationships in my addiction. Nobody trusted me. And I didn't steal or anything, but I just wasn't a trustworthy person. But as I got healthier, I noticed the people that were still in my life, they started making little changes because they saw how I felt better. And in my heart, it made me feel like I was making up a little bit for what I had done, bringing like a little bit of beauty into their life.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of rejection along the way, but I will say, like, now my family is much healthier. And that's the beauty of getting healthy, is it's contagious.
Yeah, I agree. But there's the point initially where people won't trust you. Did you ever go through the stage where you wanted to get into fitness, you wanted to be a health coach, and people looked at you like, why would I trust you with your history?
Yes. As a matter of fact, I've just sort of always been one of those people. I've been in school my whole life, like just always at least taking something. I'm just very left brain like that. And I remember when I got my certification as a trainer, I only got it because I wanted to learn to work out, and I wanted to learn the anatomy behind it. So I got that license, I didn't even think I was going to use it. And I thought, oh, well, maybe when I'm older, if I want to, pursue something like that, you never know.
Mm-hmm.
It did not go that way.
Well, let's start with the protocol. Where would you start with if a client comes to you with an addiction? Where do you take them from initially?
Yeah, well, it's obviously going to be very different than the stay in a Malibu resort for a week and just detox and then be released and go back to your habit, because they haven't got to the root cause. So we start with the number one. There is always an identifiable stressor. If you take Destiny's, she was in physical stress, physical pain, and that's why the opioids came in and eventually became an opioid addiction. And then when they stop working, you end up reaching for other substances. Take my mum's story. She lost her mum and her dad. She didn't deal with that. She didn't go through the grief and look at her kids and her husband. She just totally dwelled on the loss of her parents, and that's what started it. So we've got to help that person identify the stressor.
Which could be emotional, physical, or chemical.
Yeah, you don't just wake up one day and think, 2 liters of gin sounds great today. There's always going to be something you've lost a dopamine or a serotonin or a happy hormone production in your life, be it job, marriage, breakdown, loss of a loved one, the list goes on, but it comes in them three categories, physical stress, emotional stress, or a chemical stress. So it could be, just party animal and you've overdone it, and you did Charlie cocaine on a Friday night, and then it became before a meeting to wake you up in the morning, and all of a sudden, oh my God, I'm addicted to a substance. So help them understand, identify what caused you to reach for a substance, to change your physiology,
or like you said, the gambling,
shopping, social media,
because it's the same, or the sugar addictions. It's the same thing happening in the brain.
I heard a crazy statistic that kids are opening their phone up and looking at it 2,400 times a day on average. I mean, that's an addiction. So once we find it, we help them defuse it. So that's step two. There's great experts out there, better than us, but that's where we get our expertise from, by studying these experts. The DiMartini method is an amazing way to defuse a stressor that, it will never get rid of it, but it can make it bearable. And that's our goal.
I actually did the program myself, like the methods, just to see, and it is very, very interesting and very effective. It really helps. It kind of has like do you know if you know much about NLP? Kind of a thing, like kind of facing it, figuring it out, and then looking at the good in it.
You're right.
And then really realizing, but you have to break it down step by step. It's not something you say, okay, okay, I'm over it. No, you've got to really dissect it, and that's the important part.
Yeah, so I believe you've got to figure that out before you can move on to healing and fixing the human body, the physiology, because they're in their head. They can't get over it. You got to help them get through that. Once they start working through that emotional stress, or if it's a physical stress, help them with the pain, or if it's a chemical stress, we start the detoxification. We then got to move on to healing and sealing a leaky gut or increased gut permeability. because every substance from alcohol to hardcore class A drugs, even medication over the counter, is going to cause a leaky gut and damage to the gut.
Even I don't know if you know this, but even anti-diarrhea or any kind of medicine like that is actually considered a controlled substance.
Mm-hmm.
It's C4 in California, but it's addictive because it changes your biochemistry. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, so that's obviously a very important thing, and leaky gut is so prevalent. Everyone has had it at some form or having it consistently. So we got to address that, because there's a lot of communication from the gut to the brain. We know this through vagus nerve 10. 90% of the information to the brain comes from the gut. It helps you with cravings, what you want, what you desire. Even as crazy as it sounds, when you have an imbalance in the gut bacteria flora, you can actually hear voices. It's a mineral deficiency, and a leaky gut can lead to schizophrenia. So it's kind of crazy. So then we help them.
Real quick before you go on, can you just explain what leaky gut is? I talk a lot about it, but people throw around the word, and some of the listeners might not exactly know what that means.
Yes.
Sometimes I believe they call it an inflamed gut as well, correct?
Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, I just want to try, it's a complex subject, and I just want to put it into as easy to understand and quick as possible. From the mouth to the anus is the outside of the world. It's not inside us. It's a perfectly formed 24 feet estimated tube, muscular tube, and food has to be broken down to the finest molecules to be absorbed through the gut wall, and that's how it's kind of nature's intended as such. Don't get me wrong, we're an animal species. We could grab a berry off a branch, break off a thorn, eat that, and tear a little hole somewhere in the digestive tract. We have a natural built-in system to repair the gut called the greater omentum. So we have these built-in defenses, but the problem is we're taking in so many chemicals that's basically causing increased holes in the gut.
That's what's so amazing, though, because the things like greater omentum, that like addicts, we've done damage to our body, but we can seriously heal beyond. I mean, come on, I never thought I'd be qualifying for a Boston Marathon after being a drug addict until I was 25, but you can. The body is miraculous. So yeah, I just had to say that, because I have to tell you, you won't believe this, Sarah. I went and got a physical. So I wear glasses and didn't bring my glasses because I didn't know I was going to do it. My vision's 20/20.
Oh my gosh. That's amazing. I believe.
And that's all you and your stuff, your amazing products.
Well, thank you. And I've seen a difference in my eyesight as well, as I'm 40.
My eyesight is so much better.
I started seeing my eyesight slip, and I started pushing the My Vital C, the accelerated keto, and really focusing on anti-inflammatories in my body. And I'm at 20/20, if not better. I haven't had any issues. So yeah, it's amazing. The body really can reverse damage. It truly is a miraculous thing. So you want to go on to step 4?
Yeah. So just to finish up with the gut, so basically the gut has these tiny microscopic holes ready for the food to be broken down to the finest structure to be then reabsorbed into the bloodstream. And basically when you get a leaky gut, you've just got larger holes, and then basically food and everything you put in your mouth can get out into your blood system. And if it's not small enough, it's flagged by the Th2 immune system as a foreign protein, and it could be as simple as broccoli to a Tylenol. So that's basically a leaky gut in a nutshell.
What happens though is it creates severe fatigue,
autoimmune diseases, allergies,
emotional, like depression. And I think the last time I checked, like statistically, like 78% of everybody has it. So Joe.
More people.
Joe healed and sealed his daughter's leaky guts.
Yeah, they're my first little projects.
Because you can get an X-ray and see them. You can check.
So, you know, the hormones come into the next step, balancing the hormones, because that's really what an addiction is. We're trying to get happy hormone production, be it we've lost the capability of producing it ourselves through a traumatic event, or sadly, we're taking substances that are doing it for us. So that's why we have to keep reaching for that substance. And why would hormones be so important? Why would it connection with leaky gut? Serotonin is our consistent happy hormone. And it's 80 to 90% of it is made in the gut. So if you've got a damaged gut, a destroyed gut, you're going to have a poor production of that hormone.
And also, you know, with the hormones, I mean, most addicts try their first drug when they're in puberty because you make erratic choices. So you're going to feel much calmer, and you're not going to make those choices so irrationally when your hormones are balanced.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So, you know, so we help them restore their hormone balance. You know, that's the most important thing. Obviously, that's a very involved, detailed, you know, topic, but just to give you the next step, basically. And then we're still in the gut, we're still working on the gut. We've got to rebalance the ecosystem, the gut bacteria flora, essential, because, you know, most of these addicts, they don't realize, but you know, they're not on a great diet, obviously, and now they've got this gut full of bad bacteria. And again, that communication from gut to brain is a problem. So restoring the gut bacteria flora through probiotics, prebiotics, and obviously healing and sealing the gut. You know, then we move on to the next step, step 6. So we're kind of halfway through the steps. Nutrify the body. You know, everybody is nutrient deficient. And if you're in a stress state of any of the 3, like you said, emotional, chemical, or physical, and you're taking substances that are going to just deplete the body further of minerals and nutrients. So we get them on a highly nutrient diet and supplements.
And I think that this is the key to the chronic relapser.
Because
I feel like the chronic relapser gets to a point in their life where it's good, but they just, you know, being around and working now so much with them, it's like they're not comfortable. We're not comfortable in our own skin. I mean, I am now, but they never get comfortable in their skin because they're never getting what they need to thrive. So it's as if their body's never satiated. So of course, what are they always going to go back to? That makes them feel better.
Right.
You know?
No,
So
I experienced this in a quote unquote healthy manner. I just went through a liver flush, and I eat animal protein. I'm on a ketogenic diet, but for the last couple of days of the flush, you're supposed to have no animal protein and eat a low fat diet. So essentially I'm eating vegetables, and I'm eating and I'm eating and I'm eating. And my brain is saying I'm still hungry, and my stomach's saying I'm full, because there's no satiation. I'm not getting the protein or the amino acids that my body is needing. And it was this amazing revelation. I shouldn't say revelation, because I knew this was what I was going to experience, but at the same time,
right, but it's like, no, it's really happening.
Right. And you have a couple bites of steak and you're full, whereas you can eat a huge 12-cup salad and still feel hungry, or even a bag of potato chips. And why can you go through a bag of potato chips and eat a whole bunch of cupcakes and not eat 2 ribeye steaks? Well, the reason is your brain is saying, oh, I got enough nutrients. It's dense nutrients. I got
exactly.
that. And
I always explain this to my clients once we introduce minerals to them. You know, I've even had a client one time, she says, because she had lupus and she's doing so great. She says, I feel so good. I feel a little high. Is that okay? And I thought, wait, what do you mean? She goes, I just feel really good. Like I've never felt this good. Is that normal? And I'm like, yeah, you feel normal. Like, you know, it's so cool. But what I explain it as is it's sort of like when you're really hot and you finally get that glass of water, that's what the body does when you finally give it the minerals, the essential, like everything it needs. It just feels like, okay, you know, now I've got this.
Yeah.
And then you know, if you want me to continue on with step 7, is exercise, 30 to 60 minutes per day. Obviously, this is why Destiny's been invited into working with these addiction centers. You know, if you talk to any MD doctor and he's honest, he'll tell you exercise is better than the best antidepressant drug on the market. So that's why we need it. Plus it takes you from a good stress into a relaxed stress once you've done the workout, release of happy hormones like endorphins. So daily exercise is important. Plus obviously it's a detoxification,
and of course it also depends on where this person is in their sobriety. I mean, if they're still detoxing, we're not going to have them doing, so.
Well, another thing about exercise and what I love is that we've got a structure in the brain called the hippocampus. If you talk to any psychiatrist, they'll tell you that there is no diagnosis for a mental disorder. They're totally wrong. That you can have a scan, and if you've got a shrunken hippocampus, and that's a structure of the brain, it's like a seahorse shape. And if it shrinks, it's one of the structures of the brain in charge of emotions. So obviously, you're not going to be emotionally sane if you have a shrunken hippocampus.
So how do you get a bigger hippocampus?
Well, size is everything when it comes to the hippocampus. So nutrition, exercise, and keeping toxins out. They're the three main things, So that's why it's so important.
So with exercise, this is something that is amazing. We have so many different theories on health, from the medical doctors to the holistic approach. But I think everyone across the board, regardless if you're strictly a medical physician or an alternative health coach, everyone agrees
can agree on that.
Is needed, and it's the number one thing to boost the mood. Some people may not know why, but the other interesting thing about exercise is when you study CBD and why it works on the endocannabinoid system in the body, the exercise is a natural way to feed those receptor sites as well. So that feeling that you get from CBD, you can also get from exercise. And I wanted you to touch a little bit on the different types of exercise because, some people may have not exercised ever in their life. And one thing that I know you have talked about, and something that I do every single day, is I have a vibration machine, but you can do the same with a trampoline or just
like a fitness ball.
Yeah, rebounding and the bouncing motion, and then you've got the HIIT training, you've got endurance training, weightlifting, yoga, all these different modalities that you can incorporate.
Yeah, I think that's probably what made me such a great boxer, because I was just punching out the feelings. Mike Tyson was the same. He grew up in the streets. His mum used to give him alcohol to go to sleep at night. He's pretty much an alcoholic by the age of 9, And if you can punch out the feelings, that's what, and obviously with your exercise experience, nothing's better than swapping that.
Well, it's funny because when I first became a trainer, I was terrified of people with injuries. I didn't want to hurt them. I didn't want to. So anyway, so of course, I went back to school because that's just how I am. I want to help everybody. And if I can, I'm going to learn how to. So now, so I have 2 different certifications in exercise therapy, and it's my favorite thing to do now. I love it because I don't care who you are, where you are, or what you have. You can work out, you can move, you can breathe and engage and cleanse organs. There's so much that you can do. So even if you feel like you're completely immobile, there's still so much that our mind is so powerful. And if you learn the right breathing techniques and the right way to stand, you can alleviate so much, so it's really just being educated about those things. What I like to say is I like to tell people what we need to understand is, air doesn't just move in and out of us. We're the ones that are opening the cavity to bring it in. And that's also the same case for any exercise, right? Mm-hmm. Like
that's exactly what brings me to step 8, the detoxification of the body. So breathing is one of the best ways to alkalize and get out toxins, sweating, and then obviously just getting regular bowel movements and healthy bladder movements. And, most of these addicts, they're bound up. They don't even know that, going to the toilet every 2-3 days.
Especially pills, and they're just their liver.
This is something that I talk to people about when I say, okay, so are you constipated? And they say no. And I say, well, are you having 2 to 3 bowel movements a day? And they say, no, it's every other day. Because
I said that to him. I said that to him.
That's
totally.
It's normalized, but if everyone looks back to when they were a baby or they had a child, how often did that baby poop? It was every single time they ate. And that's the way the body is meant to be. And if you don't get rid of those toxins, they're just reabsorbed right away. And it's a disaster. So I can't emphasize that.
What really made me, and what really made me realize, like, what Joe had explained is, if you're not going to the bathroom every day, imagine if you took like a piece of poop and put it on you, right? And you left it there for a day. What's going to happen? You're going to get rash. It's going to be all gross. And, that's what's happening inside your body when it's sitting in there. It's like, like that's, so that's really important that you're eliminating those things.
And this is why everyone ends up having their appendix removed, because you've got this slow moving bowel movements, this build up of bad bacteria. The bacteria is having to get involved now to break down this decaying food, and the appendix, this little storage unit of healthy bacteria, and its job is to lubricate the colon, and it's just getting inflamed and infected in that environment, and eventually ends up having to be removed when it was never the cause of the infection. It was the
my appendix was taken out on accident. So it was an accident. Because
the doctors don't appreciate the function of the appendix. That's simply
it was a misdiagnosis. Anyways, so so if you don't have an appendix, you have to make sure that you're just for the people out there, because I thought, okay, fine, whatever, it's not needed, but I definitely have to make sure I take more, probiotics and enzymes to stay regular.
And then we move on to sorry, Sarah.
Just because I want to emphasize the importance of detox. I had someone start on the liver flush cleanse that I have this week, and the first I said, after day one, I said, are you having bowel movements 2 to 3? And she goes, yeah, it's black. Is that good? And I said, yes, because you are actually kicking out those toxins that have just been stored in there, and stuff's going to start coming out that have been there for years and years and years, and you need to get it out. So, I mean, your body, when you start going through a detox or a cleanse, you are going to have some symptoms and some signs that things are changing a little bit, but that's a good sign. And it's so important. And just it takes me back to what we first started talking about when you don't, as you were saying, Destiny, when your client was starting the minerals and started saying, I feel high, I feel so good. Well, most of the world, and whether they're addicted to a drug or just sugar or whatever it is, they are living in a numbed reality. So they don't even know how bad they feel until they start detoxing, cleaning things out. And then, so if you are on a clean diet for 6 months and then you go out and have pizza and a beer, it's not going to feel so good. And then
it doesn't even, and that's not, see, what I try to tell people too is you don't crave those things anymore.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And if you're backed up, it affects your mood. I mean, and I've heard this through doctors. I've experienced it with a lady that I got a lady come to me and said, my boss needs you. And she did all the paperwork and all the process, this poor little PA. And she said once her boss calmed down the stress a little bit, got on the program, started having regular bowel movements, her mood improved, because you're literally full of ish, aren't you? But so, and I'm sure you agree, Sarah, we got supplements like yours. We can recommend supplements that help you detox the body, but getting the 4 main natural ways: breathing,
and that's what we do. Of course, if anybody's interested, at Curin4.com, we do basically those. We put it together, movement, which I call body movement therapy, with a biological program and meal plans made. And then we go over your health history, and we recommend supplements, and we try to restore your immune system and help you take your health back.
So one question someone mentioned or asked is, if doing a flush, are there any colors of things that should be of concern? Yes, if you're doing a flush, in my experience and the way I do it, you will see gallstones or liver stones come out, and typically they're of a greenish color. or yellow. If they're more of a reddish color, that might be a sign of concern, or that you just need to continue to flush. But you just want to get the stuff out. So that's just where I go ahead.
I did one once, and there was like literally like a parasite in there. Like you'll find some really weird stuff. Just don't Google about it, because it's horrific. But that's a good question, because at the time I did it, Joe and I, we had barely really met. Come look at my poop. What's happening? Like, why is this coming out of me?
Well, thank goodness
it's coming out. You feel so good. So good.
Yeah.
But okay, you gotta follow.
Let's move on to, I love step number 9, because typically anyone with an addictive personality needs step number 9, including me.
Yeah.
That's why I was saying, because the symptoms manifest other places. So
number 9, for anyone who doesn't know, is healthy behavior addiction. So we're actually geared to be addictive species. If sex wasn't addictive, we'd never repopulate. If food wasn't addictive, we wouldn't keep searching for that animal or that fruit or vegetable. So we are geared to be, to want things out of life. So this is again through personal experience. I used to work out this amazing guy. He was Surrey in England, dips and push-ups champion, and trust me, I was fitter than half his age and I couldn't keep up. And he was an addict for 48 years, had a heart attack, and decided, okay, I'm going to stop with the alcohol and the drugs and the smoking. And 5 years later, he's Surrey dips and push-ups champion. So he literally swapped an unhealthy addiction for a healthy addiction.
I think too, what's important is teaching an addict to live on a schedule so that they're accountable for things. So you have to understand that a lot of, these people, they've been doing a lot of nothing. There are some people that, do still function or whatever, but little things, like I know when I go to visit some of my programs, I'll tell them to start making a schedule. Okay, so here's my 1 hour time where I draw. Here's my one, even if they're in a home, but it teaches them to live life, and eventually you keep showing up to those things and you create relationships there, and etc. So that's very important.
I totally agree. This is something I talk to my kids about just on a daily basis with, make sure you're accountable and make a schedule for the day and a routine, because that will keep you on track in life in general, whether you're an addict or not.
Yeah, so all types of healthy behavior, is recommended, and it also, it gives that dopamine and that serotonin and all that it gets them to find something else, and then very similar, step 10, we move on to getting them to list goals and purpose and fulfillment. We want them to be like Tony Robbins. If you haven't got purpose, you've got nothing. So they need to find out, what are they into. Me and Destiny.
Well, and by step 10, they've grown so much.
Well, yeah, totally. I mean, they're feeling better. And,
yeah.
But, like we found our purpose in life is to help people restore their health, like you, Sarah, and that's obviously, you can't fake that. It's like being in love with someone, you can't explain it, but it's just, you just know.
Isn't that crazy? It is. You're right. It's just, I explain it as like some weird gift that I just have to use.
Me too.
I don't know. I can't help myself.
Well, we had a friend of Destiny's over yesterday, just as a social thing, and it turned into a full program because she's telling us how she's struggling to lose weight. And
she's my high school friend. She came over to go swimming, and then she leave. But I'm so happy because she's going to feel amazing.
But she loved it. We loved it, and obviously she was like, "Oh, I don't want to talk shop on a Sunday, but we got to help her out, So that's step 10, and we think it's super important. And obviously, it gives the person again something to focus on. And then 11 is, start eliminating that addictive substance. This is where we really get serious. I feel like at this point we've done enough to help the physiology and support
This is
the body.
if we're working with a doctor to like wean, blah blah blah. So
Yeah,
it just depends.
You say to an alcoholic or a smoker or a heroin addict, you just got to stop that cold turkey. You're just going to throw their hormones in the toilet, and they're just going to be resentful. None of us want to be around a meth addict when they're looking for a drug. You would rather be with them after they've just had a hit. Yeah, a bit like a sugar addicted kid.
Mm-hmm.
And then
the last step.
Yeah, number 12, last step is basically once they're healed over the addiction, we want to get them back into fully functioning, maybe even enjoy a beer at a Super Bowl game, and actually be normal, and really work on a 70-30 lifestyle,
So and there's a lot of different, some people say, no, you can't ever do it again. It obviously depends if it's a substance. Come on. I think that if you've had a problem before, it's probably not worth taking the chance. So the importance is, but like Joe said, none of us are perfect. The importance is the balance of, at the end of the day, making an amends or knowing what you did wrong, taking that responsibility for it and continuing to grow each day, so it's an ongoing process. It's a forever thing.
Yeah. And my final statement on that point would be they're so in control now. Their physiology is supporting their mental strength, so they can literally have a few beers and not make it a full keg.
Right. And the most important part is to share your story. Yeah. I spent a lot of time hiding from my story because I thought people would judge me. And then went through losing somebody very close to me to addiction and decided to come out and I realized that sharing my story makes all those mistakes mean something, because they may save somebody from making the same ones. And you cannot keep what you have if you don't give it back. So, you have to.
Your mess is your message, and people appreciate the vulnerability and the humility that they can now identify with you. And there are very few people in my life, friends or family, that don't have some sort of addiction, whether it's something minor, whether it's healthy or unhealthy, just because, like you said, Joe, in the beginning, that it's human nature. And it's something that really, I am so, I feel this exact same destiny as you. Just need to share your message. And I'm so bummed because we're almost out of time. So I want to make sure before we end that you can tell people where to find you. And everybody, I have seen addiction programs that are missing so many of these steps, and they have this down. This is amazing. They're touching on every single important spot. So if you are having a struggle, definitely reach out to Joe and Destiny. So where can they find you?
I also wanted to mention, if you are struggling and you also want to see some motivation, I do have a television series called The Contentment Coach, where I interview successful or people that are very successful and have overcome addiction. And my YouTube channel is just Destiny Owen. So check that out. And Kieran4.com, of course, is where you can find our programs. We have programs that are just readable to find out more about a disease or ailment or any kind of thing you're looking for, all the way up to coaching and entire 24/7 health mentorships. And as well as obviously body movement therapy. So go to Kieran4.com and fill out your information, take a look. We have tons of health articles, tons of free information, and of course, some of the best products in the world.
Awesome. And before we stop, I wanted to someone asked if we can be addicted to work. Absolutely. It does not have to be a substance. For sure, it can be an activity or anything that is becoming something unhealthy in your life. So thank you for joining us today. If I can help you with your health issues, you can contact me, Sarah at acceleratedhealthproducts.com, and I'm happy to put together a protocol for you. I know sometimes it's hard to know where to start, and Destiny, Joe, and I do work together, so contact any of us together, and we're happy to work together for you. And for those of you listening to just the audio, you can now find this on video on YouTube channel and the Facebook. Join on Accelerated Health Products and Accelerated Health Radio. Join us every live Wednesday morning at 8 a.m. Pacific time. You can follow me on Instagram as well. And you can also listen to the audio of this on iHeartRadio, iTunes, Stitcher, Pandora, or whatever podcast platform you subscribe to. I now do Accelerated Health Bites, where I do short informational videos about health topics and solutions that you ask me about. And just as a note, addiction was something one of my clients asked me about, and so that is why we're doing this today. So if you have a health condition or a topic you want me to address, let me know. And if you like what you heard today, please hit the subscribe button and share with a few friends of yours that may need our help. As you share my channel, it helps me help more people like you and bring more cutting edge guests to the show. You can use coupon W4HC20 for 20% off site-wide at Accelerated Health Products. Thanks again for joining us, and have a great week.
Bye. Thanks for having us, Sarah.
Thank you for joining us today on W4HC Radio for Accelerated Health Radio with Sarah Banta. Make sure to tune in every week at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time to uncover your highest potential through natural and innovative wellness modalities.